So it is recorded, right? Okay.
A very warm good morning to all of you. I'll be presenting, I'm from Group 5, and I'll be speaking on behalf of my group about the roles and the responsibilities of management and principals as a unit in driving and promoting the changes and innovation in schools. And I will be talking about, with our case, with our EVS Lakshmi Matriculation Higher Senior Secondary School. But in the rest of the presentation, I'll be calling it as Lakshmi School, just for the ease. So before that, I'll just, before I get to the crux, I'll just start with the index. It's good that, the promoters have been given a chance to talk, because in most of the cases, statistically speaking, the initiation is done by the promoters. It's just the dream, the thought, that inspires somebody, an individual with resources, and he needs like-minded people in order to build upon that team, in order to build upon that dream. So, I'll be covering on who are the principals, who are the promoters and directors. The way that I have put it as a question is so that when I'm speaking, it stays as a question in your mind. It ponders, it makes you think. And I'll be covering our perspective, our views, and who are the principals and who are the promoters in the whole school ecosystem. I will be talking about the organizational vision and mission, the initial goal of promoters and directors, the change and innovation. What is the change and innovation we are talking about? So that we are all on the same page. What needs to change? What is innovation? Why is there a need for any change and innovation? A large part of my presentation related to these index will be on the philosophies and the recurring goals of promoters along with principals as one unit. Then I'll be covering on the changes, the tangible changes which we have all read in the case about our school, the Lakshmi School. And one of the biggest achievements, our gate formation. And then I'll be happy to conclude it with a final remark, with a final statement. So, just to get quickly, I'd like to tell you about the analogy between promoters, principals, directors, company, CEO, board of directors, shareholders, stakeholders, principals I said, students and parents. It was told somewhere in the beginning of the session that the school should not be treated as a company. In a company, the responsibility is towards the shareholders. The management is responsible for the shareholders. The management has a fiduciary responsibility for the shareholders, and they take care of the responsibility by empowering the CEO to take all the operation calls. He's a full-time employed person who takes care of all the operations in the interest of shareholders. The similar analogy, or the analogy, can be extended to a school ecosystem where a principal is not the CEO but has the roles and responsibilities exactly the same as that of the CEO. We, the management, is not the board of directors of the company, but we have a roles and responsibilities similar to that of the management. And our students and our parents are not the shareholders, but they are the stakeholders. They have a similar status as that of the shareholders in the company. So the management is a bridge between the stakeholders, which is the parents and the students, and the bridge between extending to the principal, who is the CEO of the school, who takes care of all the roles and responsibilities, academic, non-academic, and so on. I would also like to say that with power comes big responsibilities. The moment you have the power, the moment you have responsibilities on your shoulders, it becomes very important for the principal to take care of the things he's doing, because every action or every inaction would correspond to a significant change in the shareholders or in our stakeholders' lives and so on. And there's also one major difference. In case of shareholders in a company, they really know their rights and they really know their the enforcements and the importance of it. Here, in our case, the responsibility is more because our shareholders are little kids and their parents. They don't know what is good for them. We are supposed to know and analyze and judge what is good, what is wrong, and what is to be done and how to be driven on behalf of everyone. So this was just to cover, just to give thoughts in our mind that who are the principals and who are the directors with respect to the roles and with respect to the duties and responsibilities towards each other. Next, I get to what is the organization vision and mission. Now, the reason I kept vision and mission right next to the promoters and directors is because as the directors, it is important to keep the vision and mission in our subconscious mind. To be very clear, to be absolutely clear what we stand for, what is our purpose, and what are the contributions we are going to make in the society, and what is our role. Although I could have extended on this part, but I'll take care of the time. So, just to give the definition of vision, which is same across all the sectors and all the companies. Vision is a long-term core belief that stays the same. We say that we have certain core principles and we have an adaptability. So at the core, at the heart, we know that, why are we here for, what is our purpose, what are we going to do to the society. And mission is the short-term goals which we set both in our working and in our mind to achieve that long-term vision. So this forms at the core, and then we are open and we are flexible for the changes and innovations which we are going to talk about. With this, covering these two, who are the promoters, what is essentially required from us, which is the vision and the mission, we come to the initial goals of promoters and directors, which I would also say the conceptualization, the initial concepts of how to do it, and the policy making. So here I have given focus on this word core, which is in addition to the three activities that leads to the formation of the core. And these activities are the search for the ultimate leader. We as promoters, we have, in order to build upon our dream, the only person we can, the person with whom we can trust upon, we can enforce, and we can trust with all our resources, with all our capital, with all sharing of our dreams, is the search for a person who can represent and who can be the role model and who can be, the overall operations person for the institute, and that is the principal. So this is the first and initial and the most important role of directors. The second is, after we have identified such a person, and by God's grace we are able to find one, there is a need to empower our principal with the management guidance, our infusion of the beliefs which we have, and making the principal ready for execution and implementation, and giving the authority to the principal to make it happen, to finally implement the things. Once we become a core unit, management and the principal becomes a core unit, together it's our responsibility to find the KMPs, the key managerial personnel. Now KMPs is again a term which is used in the corporate world, but like the CEO, which by definition has, which is definition in the corporate world, KMPs can be defined for everyone. So our KMPs can be the chief administrative officer, the maintenance person, the coordinators, the HODs, all the core people with whom further a subdivision of that thoughts, of that beliefs, of that dream can take place. So with these three things, we form the core. And this core, I'm going to say, translated to one of our biggest achievements at Luxury School, and that was the GATE, the formation of GATE. Is it time? So change and innovation, I'll just quickly go through it. Change is the only thing which is constant in life. We all strive for change, and innovation is important to survive, right? So you need to have a will. Change and innovation is also the will to survival. If I won't be talking about why to change, why to innovation. Of course, we all know that. But just to get to the ultimate level, if you don't have the tendency to change, survival of the fittest. You don't change, it's inevitable. It's in our DNA to change and innovate. If we have the resistance, we will perish. You change or you perish. That was one of the statements I forgot given by whom, but that was really inspired me. So with this, I have come to one of the most important part of the presentation, which is talking about the philosophies and the recurring goals or roles of promoters along with our core, primarily with the principal, but along with the core. I'll be talking about the parallel and balanced changes. You must have done a case study, all of you. And here there are changes introduced at many levels, right? We as an organization or we as individuals were not We were passionate, but we were not passionate for a particular field or for a particular area. We were holistic and we were realistic in developing every department, every area, so that together it can hold and sustain those changes. Whether it is in infrastructure, within infrastructure there are many categories like library, computer labs, or it is the policy making, or the committees, or the changes were made in form of teachers, and the learning and pedagogy, and also realization of people towards harmony, towards a self-sustainable environmental community. We all make these changes in parallel so that we can always support each other, and not just a random set of innovation like we hear an idea from somewhere and we want to implement it. It was a well-structured, well-thought of parallel implementation of changes and innovation. The second important thing, which as a philosophy we should have and we should imbibe, and we have been imbibing, is protecting the interest of all the stakeholders. Right? There comes a situation every day in many decisions where we have to take calls, where we have to make the trade-offs. In this decision, if I take option A, parents will be suffering. If I take option B, parents will be protected, but somebody else will be suffering. There's always a conflict. But you need to have the involvement and the protection of interest of all the stakeholders. And by stakeholders, I mean your students and principals, just to give a priority, your teachers, your admin staff, and then finally the management. Hiring the best of the people. As I've been repeatedly saying since from the beginning, that a promoter, with a dream and with resources cannot do anything on its own. And I feel take great pride, and I feel lucky to say that in our school, we have got the best of the principals and we have got the best of AMPs right from the beginning. So we have made a culture, we have made a policy to hire the best of the people in their respective fields, so that the vision and the dream with which we started, that can be carried on. So hiring the best of the people, the most innovative people, and the people who are flexible with a similar mindset is important. Psychological and financial support. Now, I just use these two words, but I cannot emphasize enough on the overall support which we give to our to everybody. Whether support to the students with respect to the teachers, or to the teachers with respect to other things. But we act as the shock absorbers. In this whole world, there are two things. There are variables and there are constants. So the constants are already known. We want the constants to work so that we have to absorb the variables.
Excuse me, are you talking about how promoters relate with their schools, or talking about their schools?
No, I am basically talking about the roles of promoters and directors.
Generally speaking.
Generally speaking, there will be...
It was something different. No? Go ahead,
Okay, yeah. Then we have also covered the SOPs, SOMs, and the manuals, the standard operating procedures, the manuals, and the standard operating modules. So that I'll try to converge it to a point. So that it cannot be dependent, or it cannot be limited on the abilities of an individual. We are trying to standardize our procedures so that in case of absence of any managerial body, that these documents, SOPs, SOMs, and manuals can become the guiding source. Just to look at the bigger picture, I would say that we as managers have the most important role in keeping the checks and the flags that everything is in place and people are working together for a common goal, for a common mission while executing and implementing. Now that I've talked about the generic things which every promoter and IT director should have, through the gate formation, let me talk to you about the changes, and these are all the changes which are mentioned. The changes in infrastructure, the library, changes the systems and procedures in teaching.